Welcome to another commentary on behalf of StarCastTV. Bottom right-hand corner we have Sharp starting as the White Terran. Upper left-hand corner we have Rush, aka Yamtube, starting as the Orange Terran. It is going to be TvT. I don't know why I was looking at... So the map is Ultimate Stream, which hasn't been played anywhere. So ASL Season 11 was the last time it was played. Map that doesn't favor Terran, but doesn't matter because this is TvT. I don't know why I was looking up the... was looking up ahead of time like, man, this really doesn't favor Terran, but then I'm like, Sharp versus Rush, it's a TvT, bro. Don't have to worry about it. Zerg eggs, a wider than usual natural expansion. And then 3 o'clock base that has, yeah, kind of the corners. They're in a big wide open area. It's just hard to defend bases on this map. High rise at kind of the interesting 4 corners. This is one of those maps that I think it might create interesting matches just because of its architecture, but I think it creates... Part of the reason I like maps like this is because they are so off-standard. They end up creating just chaos, and in that chaos, we just get fun games, is what it comes down to, which is why I like seeing them. And I know players on the ladder and things like that are like, I'm not a big fan, oftentimes, but variety is the spice of life, yeah? Barracks plop down somewhat near that natural expansion. That's the other thing is this natural's quite a distance away from the main. Like, this is a long distance to travel to plop that down too. Kind of another interesting feature. Barracks there on the corner as well. I assume these will get lifted off in short order. I'm curious to see whether 3 Factory Vulture is going to be the play here. I assume we're just going to see racks expand on both sides. Sharp might get the better angle because initially making movement, so checking the middle of the map to make sure there weren't any proxies. That's another aspect of this map is there's just a lot of space to just build random stuff, it looks like a lot of areas that you gotta take in contention. Instead, he's gonna make his way back and check that top right. Bottom left is the scout for Rush. Between the two, at this stage, so this is the problem. I know this was played in the past. In the past, I feel like Sharp might have been the stronger player. However, of right this second, I feel like Rush might be the stronger player in the space of who to favor. So either way, they're close enough in skill level that I'm not going to count either of them out. SCV Scout wandering in. I don't want to give ASL spoilers either. Confirming the command center, the racks in the command center on both ends. So basically mirrored build order. Marine pushing the units out on both sides. I do want to say whenever I've seen a TvT with Rush in it, it's been an interesting TvT. Even when it has been one of those longer macro, it's like just grab, split the map in half, get 1 additional expansion, kill some SCVs with drops. I feel like Rush, he plays a very high-paced game. Marine wants, speaking of which, getting aggressive. Sometimes, though, his aggression is his undoing. Right now, pressing the Marines and SCVs very far forward. Wonder if he was going to have try to pull a distractionary attack to get... I'm not sure what he'd gain out of it, though. Aside from just very minute scouting information, which he already has. 3 Marines holding the ramp. 4th Marine being produced. We do have 3 SCVs in gas. And a factory being built along the way. Barracks floating out there as well. He does need to be careful though, because he's got that factory building behind this. So yeah, the SCV just trying to patrol along that corner. Because if this gets spotted, these Marines get spotted out in open field, it is possible. Yeah, he's just going to go for it. Maybe? Sidling forward, it looks like he wants to rumble out on the front, even though he's down a Marine. Yeah, okay, now knows he's outnumbered. Shooting that front. Wanted to maybe mix it up, now going to back right back out. And only takes some SCV damage for it. The rest of the Marines actually looks like only 1 Marine took some damage. So, interesting play. I think he was hoping to catch Sharp with his pants down. Maybe Sharp, go undercut the Marine count to play a little bit more aggressive earlier instead. So, it kind of worth the risk. Machine Shop plop down. It looks like this is going to be the 3 factory play as a follow-up Machine Shop back here as well. Sharp with a slight SCV lead, but not a lead that I'm going to say, okay, that's giving him the game at this stage. Another SCV going to make its way out. And the barracks kind of floating to get what scouting information they can. 3 Marines holding the front in between. And now, yeah, comes the critical part is first of all, who's able to track whose vultures? Man, Rush really wants that scouting information. Continuing to peek up, I think he wants to see, I think he was hoping to see the initial vulture, and actually is that going to bait the vulture out? Maybe if you can get eyes and get on one of these high ridges to get a misfire rate, might be able to get a slight early game advantage that way. This is really critical moments of the match. I love that Sharp is not biting down on this and instead moving the barracks around before he's really taking high ground positions. Rush cutting the corner in between. You already have 5 vultures out in the field. They have speed. You can see Rush with fewer units doing his thing, playing like typical Rush, being more aggressive out on the field. Mines plopping across that center sector. But Vulture, so he's going to have vision, but I don't know a lot else. And I believe this was a speed upgrade first from Sharp. 6 supply lead for Sharp, by the way. 2 worker lead. But it's not translating into... It looks like he just wants to get a full control group of vultures before he ventures out. Barracks has taken some damage, is going to push its way back across. Rush at least has the midfield mines. But if Sharp opts to take a long way around, either the north or to the south, he possibly could catch Rush by surprise. Hopefully leaves those Marines at home. In the meantime, Rush going ahead and sweeping around, checking extingent locations. So yeah, now we're going to see, so I believe he saw some of those mines being placed early. He's placing his own mines, but is he going to sweep to the north or to the south to get some mine coverage that direction? Single SCV somehow for Sharp, able to escape behind enemy lines, is going to get spotted by that vulture mine. Let's see if Rush sends out any sort of troops. He's going to have that mine to spot things moving that direction. That vulture kind of hiding and hovering, but isn't going to live for long. It's the small wins. Sharp, in his build order, somehow up 12 supply. Dropping Comsat now, is already grabbing his 3rd base at the 3 o'clock location. And usually they're in this sort of exchange, you end up getting that command center at the sacrifice of map control. But in the meantime, Rush, skipping all of that, has instead plopped down a starport and is going to go for a drop behind the walls. Not sure if I like this play this early, specifically because vultures are very speedy, and as long as Sharp keeps them somewhere on this side of the map, he should be able to respond rather rapidly. But wow, Rush somehow finding the one spot the vultures aren't to cut the corners. But is he going to detect this 3rd? Moves in. Does he see the 3rd? Does he go up and stop it now? Drops 1 vulture off. Sharp's vultures in the meantime out of position at the 12 o'clock. And now it is SCV Feast City scooping up to force some misfire. Goliath now produced from Sharp to go ahead and push this back. Gonna sneak up to redefend and trail this. Unfortunately for Sharp, that did take out a lot of SCVs. And so that is going to give Rush the temporary economic lead. However, Sharp still is going to be able to cap this 3rd base much more rapidly. And now now there's knowledge that dropships out there, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Siege Tanks Goliath making their way to the first spoke. 2 machine shops down. Sharp has a pretty sizable supply lead, clearing those mines in the middle. Looks like none of them, yeah, just going to comsat his way forward and push this. And I don't see a lot of siege tanks out for Sharp to deal with this. Never mind, there they are, out on the field. Some Goliaths joining the fray as well. So Rush, yeah, just now going ahead and try to take position mid-map so he can float down and grab this 3 o'clock. Instead, wow, this has got to be the latest block engineering bay at the 9-minute 30 mark to try to delay that command center a little bit. It wasn't long-lived, but it was glorious right there. Another dropship attack going to the south. Again, somehow, I feel like it threaded the needle perfectly there. Just like inside the head, there is a turret to engage this, but It looks like it was spotted along the way. So the dropship going to get taken out. One SCV dying, but really not a lot of damage done otherwise. Sharp mining up the north. He's... Looks like Rush is setting up, but Sharp behind this has gotten a 5 supply lead. Somehow this is what's throwing me off. Yeah, that Vulture attack dropped, but he had that 3rd command center up a lot earlier. Yet Rush ahead in the overall worker count. Vulture's engaging from the north. Great engagement point for Sharp here. From high ground to low ground. But doesn't have a superior amount of siege tanks to really make Rush pay for it. It is going to make him think twice about engaging from that location, though. It looks like he's just going to draw the siege tanks back towards the high ground. Still anybody's game. And it looks like Rush going to go ahead and take that interior base command center. And this could, well, we'll see how this plays out over the long term, but right now Rush does have at least some foothold to the interior to start grabbing these interior expansions. And if he can maintain that, and if Sharp doesn't respond with any sort of... Looks like Sharp is going to go ahead and grab this command center, but he's only got mines to defend. So I think he's just hoping that Vultures don't make their way that direction. Is engaging Vultures in the meantime. As they're making their way across to the 3rd, looks like they're not going to get a lot accomplished, except for expending their lives. But yeah, this 3 o'clock base, there's no defense across the southern ramp. There's mines to provide vision. And a Vulture troop to the north to maybe swing back and provide that defense. So if a ComSat drops across this area, discovers this base, I think it's going to be tough for Sharp to defend it. But in the meantime, looks like he's going to get away with it. It's up and running. Turret's starting to drop. Rush starting to re-engage and refilter. Looks like he wants to bully his way up this southern spoke. Has plenty of troops to do it. One siege tank on the low ground. How did that not land splash damage? Doesn't matter. Both those siege tanks wiped out. There's another grouping of siege tanks to the rear, but Rush can go ahead and take this upper valley. And actually, man, this is a fantastic... Something you didn't take into account on this map is the TvTs on this map are just going to be glorious because of just how you have to carve this map up with all of the high ground and all of the spokes and all of the ways you can backstab with Vultures. Just going to be a fun one. Speaking of which, base is already mined to the south for Sharp. Rush, you can just kind of see the dividing line. He's got a handful of troops there. The siege tanks that can reinforce either the north or the south. Sharp has his own dropships out. Does have this barracks that can kind of spot the way in, but there's... I gotta say the vision is a little bit better on Sharp's side right this stage, but the map control is definitely in Rush's favor. Speaking of which, a drop top right, Sharp trying to grab this base. And this, yeah, actually should get lifted, otherwise it's going to get taken out, because I don't think Sharp can dedicate troops unless he's going to go with his counter dropships out to location to engage it. Looks like a couple Vultures making their way to the north, but yeah, if even like moving a handful of troops out of position to engage this could be risky. So moving up 2 Vultures, but 2 Vultures versus a siege tank. Oh, well, this Vulture doesn't join the attack. We'll see. Okay, looks like that is going to get cleaned up. In the meantime, Vultures sweeping across the south. The 2 dropships for Sharp not loaded up as of yet to go for any sort of counterattack. I think he's mostly going to use these to try to bust some of these positions midfield and try to reestablish control here, lifting up that expansion in the upper right. Rush, in the meantime, mining away happily, and honestly can take some additional bases here with the territory that he controls. Unsieging, regrouping, Sharp moving forward, trying to hunt down, and ooh, siege tanks getting wiped out to the north. Rush actually able to create a bit of a penetration zone forward with a superior amount of siege tanks, just unsieging and overwhelming. The dropships mirroring but not engaging, and it looks like this time Sharp, yeah, just saying, okay, well, I'm not going to get anything accomplished in the middle, so let me draw them to the north and maybe go for a big Doom-style drop to the rear. There's not a lot of... The SCVs honestly can just be flooded out. There's no command center here to attack to the north, but there are a lot of supply depots and other things that are soft to go ahead and wipe out there. In the meantime, Rush critically pushing in. It looks like Sharp maybe wanted to go ahead and grab that interior base, But Rush doing a great job of just bullying forward on all of these spokes, holding the middle of the map, and really denying, forcefully denying. In the meantime, the Doom Drop landing for Sharp in the upper left, and this is going to be trouble for Rush to defend, because first of all, I don't know where his dropships are, so he's got to move the slow way. It's going to take him forever, and he has to walk through his own Sim City against a superior position to deal with this, so he's going to have to expend a lot of troops, and this is actually giving Sharp the supply lead. He's going to grab, he just migrates that command center out from the upper right to the 12 o'clock, or sorry, the 1 o'clock, I should say there. Looks like he's going to be able to get some supply depots, might even get that starport. But in the meantime, it's just killing a lot of troops as they're trying to make their way in. So a lot of damage out of that. Also going to go ahead and grab something this side of the map, and I think with that drop and a lot of the distractionary attack and Sharp starting to grab and hold a lot of these expansions, actually distance mining here with some SCVs, he is going to take the lead. He's got a big supply lead, another big drop grouping making the way across. He's near 200 supply, 40 supply up on Rush. That spider mine will spot it, but does he get there in time to defend potentially the 9 o'clock? Some counter dropships maybe to support. It looks like they're just going to hold up short. SCV's pulling off the line to try to engage this and also buy time for reinforcements to make the way up. But still a lot of, SCV's dying. That's going to give Sharp the worker lead, which I believe he already had. Sharp trying to re-engage and reinforce from the middle of the map. And Sharp happily going to grab the 6 o'clock. Wow, he's just expanding like crazy past all this. He's like, go ahead, Rush, hold the middle. As long as you're not attacking into me and you're kept off balance, I'm just going to out-expand you everywhere. One thing, though, is he does need to maintain some troops in those dropships because he's got to defend the 6 o'clock and the 1 o'clock, completely categorying. Fortunately for him, Rush is going to try to dive into this interior 3 o'clock location. There are dropships nearby, although instead of engaging, it looks like he's just going to let that command center bleed some troops, and he's going to take the middle and press forward as those tanks sieging, potentially going to Vulture Bomb. No, just going to ignore it, continue pushing those troops back towards the 9 o'clock, wipe out some troops there. SCV's now pulling off the line. Gonna take out siege tanks and keep that inside 3 o'clock base running. So just an SCV defense there, cleaning up everything, and has created a bit of a bulkhead now along this left-hand edge. More SCVs pulling off to try to defend this. However, in the exchange, the worker count has even. More SCVs pulling off the line to try to defend. Sharp now responding to this threat. He's going to be able to clear this out. He is near 200. Level 3 weapons, by the way, versus level 2, level 1 armor. But Sharp, it just feels like he's got more out on the map. Rush counterattacking, starting to press through the middle. There are Goliaths to potentially deal with those dropships as they move across the mid-map position, scooping up a lot of troops to potentially bomb. Rush finding that 1 o'clock base, attacking it, and I think Sharp might just have to sack this because defending that and defending elsewhere, it might just be a little bit too much and spread him a bit too thin. So potentially finally going to lose this command center that's been part of the mix forever. Inside 9 o'clock location, a mine in the way. So that's still not landed. 2 siege tanks engaging across to try to take that interior 3 o'clock. Vultures are getting up there that might be able to finally disrupt this. More siege tanks there. Where are the dropships, though? Dropships still in that mid position. Command center taking fire, but it looks like there is enough to go ahead and scoop this up. And Rush falling way behind the supply count now. And maybe smacking a bit of a desperation here. Siege tanks across that southern edge, going ahead and clearing out any troops that were squeaking through. So 6 o'clock basically still defended. The 5 and 6 o'clock basically defended. Mines along the way. And nothing in the troop grouping that basically can respond to nearly any threat. It feels like the air advantage is definitely in Sharp's favor. He just has more mobility right now. Rush now realizing these bases at the 5 and 6 are up, going to try to press into this. That is provoking that dropship response. So should be able to clean this up. He's going to lose a few SCVs, but he's just had more mining bases for longer. Yeah, Siege Tanks dropping some SCVs were engaged in that attack. Vultures are going to be able to swing their way across, but it looks like the Siege Tanks are going to be able to swing across and provide some defense. So no SCVs really being harmed. Finally, that mine being cleared so that inside 9 o'clock can be grabbed, but that's as Siege Tanks and Goliaths are grouping up on the ridge right underneath them, simultaneously attacking SCVs across that mineral line, but also pincering in some troops across the inside, what am I going to call that, the 7 o'clock location. Oh no, SCVs also moving in to just get absolutely splattered by Siege Tank fire. Finally, Rush moving in with Siege Tanks of his own, should be able to repel this, but dropships moving in as well. Rush just getting starved out now. 1 o'clock location's been re-grabbed, but not yet saturated. And this base, yeah, was hovering and waiting there forever. It is just going to get annihilated. Siege Tanks trying to defend from the south. And it looks like that plus some mines are going to be able to clean this up, but no SCVs left mining there. Taking toll. Main is mined out. Natural expansion is mined out. So that leaves this base, sorry, this interior base. This is also practically mined out. So it is critical to get this base up and running for Rush. In the meantime, Sharp mining happily at the 6 o'clock location needs to resaturate. So what do I... Let's... 5 o'clock location, 6 o'clock location needs to be saturated. 1 o'clock location is up but not yet saturated. Needs to get his SCVs out there. 3 o'clock base is looking somewhat thin. But just the fact he's continually been able to assail Rush's latent mining bases, I think Sharp in a pretty good economic position. Certainly has a larger latent bank. Rush lower on the SCV count. And the dropships have still been doing work. It looks like there's still troops out there. Yeah, just getting the bombs. Goliath bombs, clearing out everything in between. And you can just see, so finally some counter dropships from Rush. Going to be able to walk in and maybe actually not saturating this. Might be able to do a 1-2 punch here. Other dropships here, but who has more bulk inside what's left? Looks like Rush does. So going to be able to shut down, critically maybe shut down one of these bases. Vultures planting some mines and SCVs trying to defend, but those tanks aren't sieged, so going to be able to clear that. And Rush all of a sudden with shutting down 2 bases in one fell swoop. That was within what, 30 seconds? Suddenly going to take a sweeping lead. Has even the supply count. This base being grabbed to try to mitigate some of those economic losses. It looks like that command center is going to survive. This command center lifting off in the meantime, and this is insanity all over. Rush at least able to close that supply gap to within 10. It's actually evened it up now. Has the superior upgrades overall. Sharp remining now at the 1 o'clock. Still's been mining at this base for quite some time, but Rush barreling through, going to be able to take out this 5 o'clock base. And potentially going to threaten the SCVs that are on the nearby inside 6 o'clock. 6 in, yeah. We'll call it inside 6, inside 3. You guys decide what you want to call it, but that's what you know what I'm talking about. I'm pointing right at it there. This base mined out for Rush. He's going to lift that command center, hopefully to a fresh base. I assume he's going to try to move into this 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock position. Sieging now on the low ground, peeling out some SCVs there. Sharp moving in some dropships to maybe scoop up some troops, loses his gas. And Sharp's bank now dwindling. Actually, it's thin on minerals both sides. Minerals just about mined out for the 9 o'clock. 3 o'clock base is gone. So holding the exterior edge and being able to establish bases on the, I guess maintain bases on the interior for Sharp and establish the exterior for Rush. Siege tanks there maybe to deny. So where they were in Sharp's hands now, I think this is just to deny and keep them out of Rush hands. Command center drops, but Vulture fire right there to engage it. SCVs pulling up to go ahead and deal with the minerals that are left. This might turn into just a flat starvation situation. I don't think either player is in a situation where they can make a transition to battle cruisers at all. There's just not enough. They're just barely keeping the lifeblood alive. Barely keeping, how do I want to say this? They just got to keep the mech rolling just to defend what they got out here. Battlecruiser's probably too slow to defend any latent location anyway, but they got to keep the minerals out there, because otherwise it becomes kind of that rolling ball problem where if you're not able to take territory and hold territory, you're slowly starving out, at which point you can't take and can't hold. Siege tanks breaching all the way towards the natural for Sharp near Rush. Sharp going to grab that upper right-hand base. Mine's going to spot it. I don't know if their troops can swing around and miss this. Rush actually using Comsat to engage and able to take out a factory of Sharps over that high-end wall. Rush lower on SCV count, however, leading in supply overall, which means he is a much larger army, is now establishing some bases along this exterior southern edge, grouping up some dropships. Counter dropships potentially going to, and really able to have double whammy impact here, so able to attack the factories there, but also shut down some mining along the southern mineral field. Finally, Sharp able to get some siege tanks in place, but counter drop incoming to wipe out. So it's like, yep, you thought you took it out. Just kidding. Huge drop now to wipe the base out and reestablish this position. This might actually be some prime distance mining location for Rush later. Sharp regathering himself, trying to get the dropships reloaded to approach anywhere. Yeah, he's been able to hold this territory for a period of time, but really hasn't mattered. SCV's, well, able to kill an SCV-2, I guess, as they wander out. Sharp now saturating that upper right. He is actually at 3 bases saturated, where Rush looks like he's just at 2 as the 9 o'clock is mined out, although there's distance mining happening with gas. So Sharp actually has the economic lead overall here, so might be able to swing right back into this. Now going for counter drops of his own, scooping up and going to wipe this base out. Rush retreating with the SCVs, wants to go ahead and saturate the 6, but a counterattack moving up to start wiping out, maybe poke away at the bases to the north. Sharp recognizing it, unsieging, trying to regroup everything to engage. Rush setting up a back-end line to cut off reinforcements and allow the northern troop corridor to just barrel in. Sharp regathering, realizing he would probably lose more troops than it's worth, so maybe gonna just swing around and go for some counterattacks. Right now he has a larger bank, but I'm not sure how long that's gonna last. Mine's gonna spot the troops making their way to the 5 o'clock base. This is the one last mining base, I believe, for Rush. So I don't know if this is gonna be a killing blow or not, as Sharp losing bases in the upper right and the 12 o'clock location. And in the meantime, SCV's pulling off the line to try to defend the 6. A base maybe hovering online. There's some mines in the way to prevent that from landing. So Rush now, out of minerals, has got to get it done with what he has in the bank, which is not a lot. Sharp has 1,000 minerals left. Rush, however, wiping out the SCVs in the upper right. Both players sub 20 in the worker count. So now it is going to be down to who positions better and who is able to poke at what. This base shortly going to be knocked down. Sharp regathering mid-map. Yeah, every troop, every unit counts now. SCV's trying to flee. They're going to get wiped out. Sharp looking for potentially, I think he's still got the dropship advantage, so maybe looking to have a superior engagement to the north. 7th supply lead is going to leave some troops. That's getting comsatted. I don't see any dropships to currently counter this. Okay, there's the dropships, potentially to gather up. These are currently empty, so that might be 3 free siege tanks now for Rush to wipe out. Yeah, Rush actually just engaging now in the late game a little bit better. Dropships getting wiped out. I think, is this just to clean up supply? I assume not. Bit of a mistake there. SCV's distance mining where they can. Looks like mostly getting gas. Rush down to 69 minerals. Nice. As Sharp moving that army around, the dropship connecting with Rush's army, so potentially going to be able to... I think both players realizing it is coming down to the wire here. So Sharp able to land a base there at the 5 o'clock, not yet able to mine out of it. Sharp rushing through. Might be able to get that command center, certainly not going to be able to land. Counterattack from Rush, however, loses some troops in the dropships. Getting hunted down by those Goliaths, finally emptying out. Looking to engage, cross position, is going to get the earlier siege. So has a sliver of a lead in troops overall. And wipes out that trailing grouping siege tank file, so he's got a siege tank grouping near that natural and another siege tank grouping behind it. Sharp down to just 49 supply. So Rush catching Sharp just overextending and able to get just superior sieging and wipe out the troops, and that might give him the game. First of all, gonna float this command center out to the 11 o'clock position, drop it, get some SCVs there. Sharp has managed to, looks like, get some mining back up here. Rush maybe gonna scoop up and respond to it. In the meantime, starting to peel in and wipe out everything slowly at the additional bases. Sharp spots that base at the 11 o'clock, is pulling SCVs to try to get 2 bases mining to maybe catch up in the macro field, but keep in mind he's still got to produce those troops out of all of this, which is about to get wiped out. Rush pushing through, some troops trying to reinforce. Killing one of his own siege tanks with the splash damage. So Sharp is mining, but where he can actually produce troops, all of that is getting obliterated. So Rush might win it just on positional play alone. Dropships hovering up ahead. There are some siege tanks to go ahead and wipe out the 11 o'clock. Gonna be able to get some kills there and wipe out the SCVs. So now here's the thing, if Sharp can somehow rebuild, if he can just float these factories out someplace, might be able to retake the match because he is mining and Rush is not. But he needs to be able to field enough troops to counter just what's left. Siege tanks moving back out. Some moving to the south, going to be able to wipe out the 5 o'clock. This base still mining. Maybe not for long though, because the dropships have spotted it. Siege tanks sieging up to go ahead and wipe that out. Rush still with the army lead. Dropships and siege tanks making their way back to potentially defend this. Or maybe wipe out the dropships as they're making their way across. Command center's lifted off. Rush regrouping. It looks like he was able to sneak out a few additional troops with what he produced. SCV scattering midfield. They're providing that critical scouting information. Do I hear a Wraith someplace? Wraiths being produced by Sharp to try to get rid of the dropships. Producing what he can. However, loses the command center, but not before he was able to sneak away with the few latent minerals that were left. SCV is now distance mining at this northern hub. And it looks like the siege tank's no longer there, so they might be able to get that. Yeah, they're going to be able to secure those minerals at the 3 o'clock, so Sharp's still mining. So still has hope in this match. 44 supply versus 41 supply. Rush still has the larger army. But between Wraith, hero SCVs in the late game, and some vultures now sneaking out, denying additional bases, the Wraith going to be able to take this command center out as well. Sharp, despite what was looking like a desperate... Sorry, it's going to be a Goliath wiping this out. Despite what looked like a desperate situation, I don't know, I think Sharp might be able to sneak this out. Has relanded his factories, is reproducing troops. Rush down to just 39 supply, is going to be able to take out that command center. Is trying to seal up and establish a line so we can at least start mining again. But in the meantime, Sharp has been distance mining happily, is going to lift this command center off, move it to that northern position, so he is mining ahead of Rush. a bigger bank behind this. I don't know what to say at this stage. They're just lone siege tank just doesn't realize what's happening right behind his back. Vulture sneaking through, just making sure that these additional bases haven't been taken. This covered by that mine. So yeah, command center's got to make it. A lifted command center from some place has got to make it there, is what's got to happen. The science facility trailing that command center to spot it, to see precisely when it lands. This command center going to land just ahead of it. Rush going to see it opposite side, needs to get it out of the red. SCV's being ferried in. That science facility going to be wiped out. Now it's like a risky business even building an SCV with not a lot of minerals left out, period. But Sharp able to much more rapidly reestablish his base. Get the SCV, he's going to drop a refinery there. So both players potentially going to start mining again. Rush with a consolidated line around his base. Some vultures sneaking out around the field. I don't know if there's even I haven't seen a siege tank out. Okay, there are some siege tanks in this dropship. Dropping gamble. Sharp looking to engage. Sharp with a slight supply lead, but keep in mind that's mostly in SCVs at this stage. That's 6 siege tanks versus, it looks like 6 siege tanks, but some of them have been pretty well damaged, so you can see an SCV peeling off the line here and there. Try to heal things up. 2 siege tanks going to drop with only vultures there to defend potentially. On the low ground, mines almost ruining their day. So now Sharp no longer mining. I take it back, he snuck the 1 o'clock when I wasn't looking. So might be able to wipe this base off. Let's see if that command center lifts. Rush is mining here at the 6 o'clock. And now the counter dropship going to scoop up that, taking a hit. It looks like he is going to be able to reestablish the lines here. Sharp with more SCVs. Yeah, rushing to go ahead and defend. Vulture's just mining the natural expansion just to make sure that Rush can't just walk troops out. He's got to go by dropship to make it all the more annoying. Another dropship looks like it wants to make its way to the main. Maybe. A Wraith, however, is out. It's going to be able to clean up the siege tank, and that dropship's lucky that it didn't get wiped out in between. These Wraith have been absolutely hero for Sharp. Or hero is another player altogether, but I'm bunch. So, 1 base versus 2 base. More SCVs for Sharp. He's got a Wraith out, which is pecking away at some of these, well, at least a siege tank. Let's see if that siege tank's going to be able to make it back. It looks like this Goliath is going to be able to press forward. Might be able to save it. Looks like not, but is able to kill a vulture in turn. Every unit counts. Sharp with the supply lead. Dropships, however, out in the field. And again, it's been a very thin siege tank count for Sharp. Looks like all of them are piled currently to the 1 o'clock base. Dropships, I believe they were headed back home to scoop up some troops, but Rush, in the meantime, going to be able to sidle in and maybe take out this command center this time. A Wraith moving up. It's going to get group repaired. However, there is a defense force of 2 Goliaths to go ahead and press that away. Sharp wanting to sneak another expansion in that top right. Looks like he might just move that command center there. So aside from these shenanigans in the middle, like a big piece is going to be, can this bottom left-hand corner get cleaned up? Can the 6 o'clock base be grabbed by Rush? And can Sharp just get his troop count up? It seems like he's just been mining more this entire time, but hasn't been able to translate that into superior troop groupings. As the dust settles, Rush still on 1 base, but has locked Sharp back down to 1 base himself. The factory line's still humming. Rush gaining the supply lead, still behind in the overall SCV count. But he just has a much more defensible position, which is allowing him to do things like this, pushing the upper right. And again force Sharp to expend yet another base. Siege tanks trying to reinforce from the left. And it looks like Sharp might have enough with what he was able to produce latently, and SCVs pulling off the line to defend. And with that, the supply count even once again. However, critically Sharp able to reestablish this upper right-hand corner. Rush returning with those dropships back home. He's going to have to get another shot out there. Razor thin margins back and forth here. Absolute nail biter. Vulture's laying some mines right on the front door here. The countermine's going to be able to see some of the troops swapping at the very least. I'm not sure how helpful that is at this stage for Sharp, though, considering he's not got a ton of troops to make things happen. And once again, it becomes a Vulture map. Vulture's reigning supreme has more mines planted across the map and a wide territory to try to cover. Sharp, in theory, will win this if he can keep these two bases up and running. Keep these SCVs from idling, and just rebuild. Dropships regrouping. It looks like Rush is willing to risk exposing this base to go ahead and press forward and maybe either wipe some of the... Yeah, I assume go up and wipe some of these bases out. One siege tank on defense. Dropships regrouping, gonna join the Goliath and Vulture's midfield. And this might be the last hurrah here. Some Vultures sweeping across mid-map. It does not look like they're seeing this attack group movement, though. Yeah, just swinging back across, trying to get some additional vision, not realizing that the vision is coming too late. Siege tanks dropping on the high ground. Rush loses a lot of siege tanks, but 3 are left. 2 are left now. SCVs attacking off the line. And Rush's attack repelled. For a second there, I thought it was going to last, but no, with that, loses it. Sharp with the supply lead and 2 bases was soon going to be overwhelming, so Rush calls a GG in a wild one. Great match. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.